I'm Brickroad, and this is Raiders of the Lost Ark for the Atari 2600. This is a machine, ladies and gentlemen, that had a blazing 1.19 megahertz CPU and a gargantuan 128 bytes of RAM. And on this machine that dominated the home video game console markets in the late 70s and early 80s, they created what it has to be the very first instance of a complete action-adventure video game. This game is literally as old as I am. It came out in 1982, so the Atari 2600 had already been out for a couple of years at that point. And another thing that it pioneered, because you'll see that I can walk around and I can pick up and drop items, use items. You can see I'm using my little whip here. That dot means that I'm shooting this snake with my whip. Yeah, there we go. This is what the Atari 2600 joystick looked like. That's it. Just a joystick and a big red button. So in order to create a game where you could walk around and control your inventory and have be able to use items and drop them, and way more complex than the Atari joystick would allow, you actually had to play this game with two joysticks. So the left joystick you would use to move Indy around, and then the button is used to use whichever item you have equipped, and then the right joystick is used to select which item you want to use, and the button on that controller drops items. If you drop an item in this game, it ends up back where you picked it up. So in a way, this game pioneered the dual control stick scheme that we know and love today in modern gaming 15 years before the PlayStation would release the DualShock controller. I love this game, and I'm of the opinion that it is solvable. A lot of people, I've watched a lot of YouTube reviews of it this past week or so, in the lead up to recording it. A lot of people think this game is impenetrable, and they criticize it for being unsolvable. But what you have to remember, 1982, there were no norms when it came to how a video game played or what a video game was supposed to do or be. There weren't even genres of games yet. There was nothing to rip off. Everything was on the cutting edge. So this game is essentially about learning all of the rooms and items. It's about getting certain items to certain rooms and doing things with them. And the instruction manual told you about the vast majority of these. It detailed most of the items in the game, most of the rooms, and what you could do and where you could go, and what left very, very little to the imagination. You have to do a lot to figure things out. That said, it did leave some things out of the manual, things that the player would have to figure out on their own, which makes it an adventure game, in my opinion. It has puzzles that the player can solve by a combination of intuition and trial and error, which I think is reasonably fair. I think a player armed with the instruction manual for the game and free of the pretenses of the 30 years of gaming that have come since could solve this game given enough time. Unfortunately, I haven't solved it myself. I was 0 years old when this game came out, so of course growing up playing it, I never really was able to solve it. And by the time I was an adult, I had just known the solution via cultural osmosis. Probably my father taught me how to solve this game when I was a kid, I imagine. But let's get to it. What I've been dodging on the screen here are snakes and Indiana Jones. You know this is Indiana Jones because he has his trusty fedora. These are snakes, and Indiana Jones hates snakes. They will kill him on one hit. You know what? I'm just going to show you what getting killed looks like because it's adorable. And his hat disappears last. That's lovely. So let's go to some of the rooms in the game. Down here is the marketplace. This is a place where you can buy all kinds of useful items. The two items I'm currently holding, obviously, the little dot underneath my whip there indicates that I'm equipped with the whip. I can move it over here to this, what looks like a basket. It's actually a bag of gold. And I'm obviously not using two joysticks. I'm playing this on an emulator with my PS3 controller. So I've mapped my inventory to my shoulder buttons, which makes the game very, very playable indeed. And I want to buy this flute by dropping gold on that item, and then the merchant trades me the gold for the flute. Ah, so majestic. And I want the flute because it makes you immune to snakes. And walking back up into the start screen, sometimes the snake spawns right on top of you and you can't avoid death. But with the flute going, I am perfectly safe. I also want it because if I start taking items out of these baskets, snakes will spawn in the marketplace, and that's no good. So you see I picked up 3 free items from the marketplace here. I've got this, that snake got me. Yeah, I got this gun, which I can use to shoot a snake, but it's only got 6 bullets. You see, it's got more range than the whip. The whip shoots only a finite distance out in front of Indy, but the gun goes all the way across the screen, but it's kind of tricky to aim. The whip is a little more user-friendly, a little more trustworthy. I also picked up this key, which will open a secret room later on, and this grenade, which if I go up here and plant the grenade, that dot was the grenade, it'll blow up and create this cave. I'm actually going to throw my last life here because I'm not that confident that I could complete the entire rest of the game on 1 life. So let's go ahead and start fresh. We'll reset the game there, get it started. So we do want the whip. Whip's going to be very useful. We do want the flute. We're going to need this grenade. Take the key and the gun. Alright, so first thing we want to do is plant this grenade there to blow a hole in the wall up here. There it is. And I'm actually going to get rid of this gun. This gun is never going to be useful. The whip, it's pretty much does the same thing as the gun and is superior in most ways. This brings us to the temple room here. Now, this is one of the things that Raiders of the Lost Ark, people find impenetrable. They say that it's impossible to find the entrances and exits to various screens because you basically just press your body up against a nondescript part of the wall. But in all honesty, the game has like, what, maybe a dozen rooms in it total. It really only takes a few seconds to suss out where the entrances and exits are. I think a reasonably dedicated player would be able to find them just through trial and error, and this screen kind of introduces you to the concept because it shows you there's 4 exits very clearly marked, and where they go. Obviously this first one will take me back to this screen. I can go down here and I have a one-way exit to the marketplace if I wanted to go back and forth between the temple and the marketplace pretty easily. This item in this room is a clock, actually. I can pick that up and use it. Right now it's showing me it's 3 o'clock. And most of the random elements in the game, most of the elements of like what items appear and one particular puzzle later in the game is based on the time of day. And you see it just changed from 3 to 4 o'clock. I actually don't need the clock to solve the game. We're going to leave that there. This room here is just a trap room. This is the spider room. These flies that are buzzing around Indy's head right now will paralyze him in place. They are tsetse flies. But I've got the flute, so I've got fly immunity right now. I don't want that spider to shoot me, so let's actually just walk on out of there. If we're lucky, we won't ever have to deal with the spider room again. And this door takes me to the prison. So now I'm in the prison, and Indy can obviously just shoot his way out of the prison with his whip. Because why wouldn't you be able to shoot your way out of the prison with the whip? Now, if I touch any of the walls, if I touch that glowing light, I'll be warped back to the prison. So I want to take this door here to the treasure room. This is one of the most important rooms in the game. It's got a bag of gold here. This bag of gold will respawn as much as I want it, and if I pick it up, one of the 3 treasures appears, along with a snake. This is the Ankh. One of the most important treasures in the game, really. And let me think here. I'm going to want another bag of gold, I think. So let's... back to the prison. We will go get another bag of gold. That is the hourglass. I don't actually know what the hourglass is for. It might just be a red herring item. It might not have any use at all. But yeah, you know what? I think I'm actually pretty in good shape right now. Am I? I'm actually not. I need more than this. So we're going to go back to the marketplace here. I'm going to throw away the whip for now. And there's one item in the game that the instruction manual doesn't tell you about. And we're going to try to get that item now. Oh, there it is. That's the medallion. Very important item to have. And now I have everything I need to go solve the game's major puzzle. Now, the manual doesn't tell you the medallion exists or what it's for. And this is another thing that people will tell you makes the game impenetrable and unsolvable. But I disagree, and I will explain why. If you go down here, this is the mesa field. I'm actually standing on top of a plateau right now, on top of a high mesa. And that's all the yellow blobs or other mesas. The blue space in between is just empty space. If I actually walk out, I will die. But if I use this Ankh, it warps me to a particular mesa on the mesa field, and it gives me this grappling hook. That's this dot that's rotating around my body here. And it orbits on its own, but I can like make it go in and out by pushing up and down on the joystick. And with the Ankh, I can do two things. One, if my dot is over one of the yellow blobs, I can grapple over to it like that. The other is if I accidentally grapple into empty space, I can use the Ankh to save myself and teleport back to the top of that mesa. Demonstrated like so. Haha. What I want to do actually is explore a room that's to the south of the mesa field. So we're going to make our way down there using the grappling hook. If I can get my... can I get all the... You know, I'm going to play it safe and go to this intermediate mesa first. Yeah, like that. Now the problem with the Ankh is I can't actually walk around while I've got the grappling hook out. I have to drop it to be able to walk again. Which is fine. Now I can walk again. And if I go south from here, I'm in this bizarre room. And this is one of the puzzles. But there's a box here, so if I take my key out, I can open the box and it shows me these weird designs. This is the only indicator in the game that the medallion exists. You get to this room and you can see you can open up the box. You have to figure out that the key opens up the box. I think the manual actually tells you that the key will open up that box. The design above me is showing the mesa field that I just crossed. The design below me is showing me the medallion. So what I can do here is we actually need to wait until 12 noon. Which if we had the clock, we could actually equip the clock and I could hit the button and it would show you what time it is, how long we have to wait. But at 12 noon, the sun will be at the highest point in the sky. And at that point, we can equip our medallion here. And the light shining through the medallion will show us the location of the Ark of the Covenant. I actually didn't see any Indiana Jones film until I was already an adult. So, obviously, as a kid, I had no idea what was going on in this game or that anything was a reference to the movie at all. Now, the benefit to not having grown up with the Indiana Jones movies and not having seen them until I was in my 20s was that when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, I didn't hate it like everybody else did. I didn't want to burn the theater down when I left. And I think that's a definite plus because it's one more movie that I can enjoy that other people are incapable of enjoying. I'm happy about that. I have the same essential reaction to most of the Star Wars prequels because I didn't grow up with Star Wars movies. I'm sorry, Phantom Menace is my favorite. The pod race scene is bombastic. And that was a great N64 game. That's a retro game for another time. I'm killing time because you really do have to wait in this spot. Nothing happens until the sun rises, which happens at 12 noon, which I think it's like 1 real-time minute or so for each hour on the clock. So you can be standing here for a while with nothing happening if you get really unlucky, which it kind of looks like maybe I did.
Shoutouts to Sarutka for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who makes this channel possible by sponsoring me on Patreon.